right. Hey, everybody. This is Alex Linnebrink with Passage/HauntPay ticketing. Today, we're talking about haunted houses and social distancing for haunted attractions. This is going to be a series of webinars that we are putting on. It's what we're calling the Summer Smash series. And thanks everyone for signing up. We've had over 150 signups, which is crazy to me. I was just looking on the chats in here and we already have over 80 people logged in. So this is really fun. And I'm excited to take you through some things, both in this and some of the other webinars that we're going to be doing that's going to help you with your business side of things. So we know a lot of other folks are going and doing all of the exceptional makeup stuff that's going on. They are doing the tutorials on scaring, the acting tutorials, and there's a lot of information out there. And as a past haunter myself, I spent a lot of time working with and running haunted attractions, and that now running HauntPay for the last 7 years. We've worked with thousands of attractions, and we see that a lot of them need some tips, and we've had a lot of people asking questions on the business side, and especially in such a crazy time with the pandemic and everything going on right now. I figured, what better time than to do this series of webinars than now when we're all sitting at home. This is a series of business on the business side of haunting. So first we're going to talk about a little bit of what it's going to mean in the fall for the social distance stuff. The next one up, we're going to get some tips from some pros who have actually already started to reopen their haunts and engage with the community and see how that works. And then another webinar that we're going to do this summer is all about marketing and getting the word out and just the minimum effort in to get additional sales and actually see more revenue flow through in a number of different ways, not just the marketing side, but some PR, some other things. But today we're talking about social distance haunting. So the first thing that I'm going to chime in here and go to is to chat about what we're going to cover. And with that, I do want to share my screen here. So give me just a second. I'm going to pop that on. All right, so here is my screen. I'm going to go ahead and click present. So the first thing we're going to dig into today is what the heck the fall is going to look like. We all know that this has been some crazy times going on in 2020 yet, so we're going to dig into what that could possibly look like for just a minute. We're going to then look at time ticketing for social distancing, and then what that means, why you might want to use time ticketing, how it applies to your different attractions and that sort of thing. We're going to look at virtual stream access, so live stream access. So what it would mean to actually run a virtual event for a haunted attraction. And I'm not saying do that instead, but are there potential places that we can add that on as an option and maybe reach more than just the people in our local demographic? And then the last thing is virtual queues. This is a topic that's come up time and again here, and I think it could be super helpful in certain circumstances. We are building a great virtual queue system. You're going to get the first look at that virtual queue system and how that works tonight here. And we would love to have you as some of the early users. It'll be live in a couple of weeks, so you can actually start playing with it in just a couple of weeks here by the end of June. So that'll all be some great stuff that you're going to get a chance to see here. So first up, go the right direction in the slides here, what the fall could look like. Now, before anything else, I want to point out a resource in which one of our team members, Kat Rembacki, a lot of you guys know Kat, you've met her at the trade shows and that sort of thing. Kat has put in a lot of effort to envision some of what the fall could look like and how we go about reopening our haunted attractions in the fall. And that, let me hit escape here. I want to show you that resource here. That's going to be at scare.at/reopen. And here is actually a copy of that guide. And it's going to dig into a lot of different things. You see the webinar advertised here. A lot of information about what it means to have social distancing and crowd control and what the personal protective equipment is going to look like. We're not going to dig into all of that today. Cleaning protocols, guest and employee screenings, communicating with guests. I think those are all really important topics here that could be really interesting to dig into. And we've got the ability to look through some of this stuff that we're going through today. You know, you're going to see some of that in the article, stuff like social distancing and how we use time ticketing for that. The booking process, making sure you're not doing you're doing contactless payments and contactless scanning, that sort of thing, virtual queues, all of that. So keep that resource in mind. That's at scare.at/reopen. It's been floating around the internet too. I mean, you can see at the bottom, there are tons of people that are sharing this. I don't know where that counter went. There's a counter in here somewhere that shows how many people have shared it. It's up in the several hundreds there, but it's a great resource. Really hope that you'll make good use of that and try to check that one out. Now, number two, on what the fall could look like, or really number one, you know, based on that, masks. We've got the head start on what that's going to look like, right? Because we know what wearing masks is all about. So that's one thing. You're going to see a lot of people with masks. We're going to have to get used to this. That's just a visual thing. It shouldn't really affect your haunt, though. Be wary. Anything around the head, you know, could cause problems potentially. Again, this is another topic, but we're just going to dig through this real quickly here. Low contact admissions, you know, things like contactless scanning of tickets, you know, doing that remotely with an app or a camera or something like that. Things like being able to check into events potentially without even going to a box office. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some things on that side as well. Low contact experiences in your haunt. So things that don't touch quite as much, or that if they do touch, you know, can be cleaned in between. It sucks, but this is going to happen a little bit to keep people feeling safe. And really, that's the goal here is to make sure people feel safe enough that they're going to return to your haunted attraction. No matter what your feeling is on coronavirus or the pandemic or all of that, the goal is to keep everyone feeling as safe as possible so they're comfortable coming to your attraction. You want them to be scared of the monsters, but not of getting sick, okay? And the last thing in here, you know, is we're probably going to see a lot of social distancing of lines. So you might have lines that are marked out, like you see on the side over here. You might have, you know, taped off lines, that sort of thing. That will all add to, you know, a little bit different experience in the fall. But the good news is there are already, you know, theme parks that are starting to do some of this, and it's working. Crowds are working. You know, people are being very forgiving. They're understanding, you know, when things take a little bit longer to get people in. And generally, everybody's being super courteous at, say, Universal Studios, which is opening this week, and some of the others that are going on. So that's all a very positive thing to look at here. Oops, wrong way again here. All right. And along that route, before we really dive into the time ticketing, the first part, who's Alex Linnebrink? Why should you care about this? Most of you guys know who I am, or you wouldn't have signed up. I'm the CEO of HauntPay. We work with over 1,000 haunted events and attractions every year. I'm assuming that's more than any other company out there. We're the haunted house ticketing guys. So working with those thousands of events and attractions, we see a lot of different setups. We help a lot of different people. And I'm going to go through some ways that we're going to help you this year. And I've been around the haunt industry forever. So I grew up with a home haunt. We got that up to several thousands of people on one night a year. Did that with my father, who was born on Halloween. He just loved haunted houses. Started going to the trade shows when I was young. I think we were at the first MHC, one of the first haunt cons too. Thanks, Leonard, if you're watching here. And lots of other stuff in the industry. I've worked with other haunted attractions, and then have run HauntPay for 7 years now. So that's who I am in this side of things. All right, so with all that aside, the intro is done. Let's get into what we're talking about with the three main topics: time ticketing, virtual events and access, and virtual queues. Number one, time ticketing. Why? Why should you consider time ticketing? And first, what? What is time ticketing? Time ticketing is pretty simple. This is the act of basically, selling tickets that you're limiting the inventory. You're limiting the number of people that can get in by the date and time. So you're making the customer pick the date and the time that they're going to attend. And that could run out. So as you see on my example over here, we only have 10 left for the 9:15 time slot. I think there's a later one that's hidden here, that sort of thing. So you can have that when you're talking about time ticketing. Now, why should we consider having time ticketing? Right now, it's obvious. You can space out your guests, and that's going to keep traffic jams from happening at your haunted attraction, and generally, keep less people standing in line, which is a huge plus right now when we're trying to get people, spaced out and 6 feet apart and that sort of thing. We want to make sure that they are not, crammed up against each other and trying to get in all at one time during the rush. And this gives your customers a little more comfort. And in addition to their comfort in being able to know when they're going to come and attend your attraction, it also gives you some predictability, right? You can know how crowded it's going to be at certain times and see if you need extra staff. Maybe you need extra security on a busy night. Maybe you need extra actors, when you know that it's going to be slammed, that sort of thing. And here's a tip. You can actually encourage people to come when your crowds are the lowest. So you can actually have different pricing at different time slots. You could encourage people to come on Thursdays, at 7 o'clock. You can encourage people to come earlier in the night, to do those early weekends, those launch weekends. You can have different pricing for those or different inventory available. And here's what I mean by different inventory. Maybe, on the busy nights, you have a limited inventory to start with, so it starts showing sold out, more often, especially when you're going to have a lot of people showing up at the door. You can always raise this inventory later. So maybe you start by not having very much inventory available online or having it completely sold out online to start with, but then opening up slots earlier in the season or opening up slots on Thursdays and 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock time slots, adding more in those available inventories. And that can actually help you shift your crowd around so that you're pushing people, to be part of your experience when you have those dead spots. And, of course, with the social distancing and all that sort of thing, this is only going to help in that world. And this does give you an opportunity to charge more. I hate to say it, but as the ticketing guys, we love talking about revenue. And if you're talking about the business side and how you generate more revenue, one way to do that is to allow people to pick the time that they're coming and that they know that they'll be able to get in to your attraction here. Now, to give you a quick demo, I do kind of just want to walk you through this real quick and show you an example of a time ticketing event. So here's one that I've got. It's a zombie paintball type event, and I just threw this together real quick before we got on the line here. So I'm going to click see dates and times. We have a ticket package at the top, but really we've got the time slots down here. And this works on mobile as well as on desktop pretty easily. So the person can pick the date that they're coming and then very easily see how many tickets are left at those different times right here. And so they can click one of those if they want to purchase for this 9:15 time slot. And you can actually have different price points and different, ticket types available within those time slots and have it just max out when it gets to a certain number of tickets total for that time slot. So if you wanted to have one time slot with 50 tickets available, you could. If you wanted to have one time slot with 10 tickets available, you could do that as well. So I'll go ahead and add a couple of those to my cart. This is a horrible image. These are extra paintballs. For anybody who has a dirty mind out there, these are extra paintballs for your zombie paintball experience. I'll add some of those to my cart here. Oh, that one is because I took off the merchant account on this, so that one's not going to work. But that's okay. Just on a test event here, that would not be like that normally. And, we can check out. It'll show us when our dates and times are up here, that sort of thing. So that's an easy example of time ticketing. And then, of course, on the ticket that they get, it's actually going to show the time slot right on the ticket. So it'll say, hey, this is for the 9:15 time. And that's also going to be pulled up when you scan that ticket. So if you're using our app to scan that ticket in, I can even do that real quick here, I think. Let me see. Gonna give it a go. Sometimes this hesitates a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the app won't pull up for me right now here. I'm going to try it one more time. And if it doesn't work, we're going to just skip this part because I'm sure you all understand what ticket scanning looks like. Oh, hey, actually, we do have it here. So I'm going to set this to a normal ticket here, ticket scan. And so we can go and actually choose this event. So I can go and say, what was the name of it? Zombie Ball. So I can go ahead and choose Zombie Ball on here. And we can select it to that 9:15 slot, or actually, let's try it on another time slot. Let's try an 8:30 time slot. So right now, if I scan that ticket, we're going to get a red X because they don't have any tickets available for this 8:30 time slot. But if I'm on the 9:15 time slot when I'm scanning tickets, which it'll automatically move, I can scan, and we're going to get a green check. And since this has 2 passes on it, we'll go ahead and scan it again. We'll get another green check and a loud sound here. But if I try it a final time here, we're going to get a red X. That fast, that easy to keep track of your time slots. But you can also look at the guest list and see who's available, who has purchased tickets for that time slot. So this one, I'm the only one who's purchased tickets. I've got those tickets purchased for this slot right here. But, another one, you might see a different list of guests that you can tap into and check in that way as well. So that's just one way to kind of keep track of some of what's going on with that time ticketing. And you can see the same thing in your back end. So if you're an admin here, I can go in and say zombie ball. I'll go ahead and zero in just for that, and we can see the ticket sales that we have for the different time slots right back here and keep track. And this is what I mean by being able to have some predictability and know when people are actually going to zero in and really be a lot of people coming to your attraction from those pre-sales versus the folks that aren't going to be there right away. So there we go. We've got a list. We can even, check them in from here or see their information by looking at this guest list, but all that info is here. And other systems are going to work similarly here. We do have a pretty robust one for handling all of that inventory though. Now, I do want to dive into a few considerations, and then we're going to move on to the next section. I want to keep this moving so that we can have a little time for QA afterwards. So we'll go back and let's take a look at the considerations here. Now, number one, you really have to be doing some sort of multiplying. So you say you want to do time ticketing. This setup that I just had was easy. We had a zombie paintball truck that can fit 12 people on it, so we know we can fit 12 people on every truck. We run the trucks every half hour, and we've got 15 minutes in between for cleanup. So that's why it's every 45 minutes that you see here, because they're half-hour runs and 15 minutes in between, something like that. That's easy math to figure out. But what if it's just a walkthrough attraction? Can you still do time ticketing? The answer is 100% yes. I mean, you can even just have, honestly, just selecting a night is a version of time ticketing. You can have people just select the night they're coming. But as another, option here, you can actually do the hourly or the half-hour time ticketing specifically for your attraction, even if it's a walkthrough type attraction. But it takes a little bit of math. So the best way to figure this out is to start timing the number of people that go through your attraction and then decide the units that you want to mark it down as. We usually suggest an hour, but for some of this social distancing stuff, maybe a half hour would be appropriate. We have customers who honestly use it down to 5-minute intervals there. I believe Ricky Dick, if you're on the line here, just let me know. I don't know, but we have a few others that are out there that do 5-minute intervals. I don't necessarily recommend that unless you are a very theatrical approach and know exactly how many people go through every few minutes. But in the case of a normal walkthrough, look at how many people go through in a night. If you're open for 4 hours, you can start dividing that out if you were, pretty steady throughout the night. You've got 1,000 people. Okay, that was for 4 hours. Maybe that's 250 an hour. And I realize it doesn't always work like that. So maybe you want to do it over an hour period and start dividing it down. And here's a huge consideration. Like, what happens if there's at the door sales, if there's slowdowns. So our system does handle at the door sales as well. So we will not let you sell a ticket at the door if it's already sold out online. So we can take the inventory for both and combine those super easily. But if you don't have an all-in-one system like that, that's definitely something you want to take into consideration, right? You want to make sure that you're not overselling either at the door or online. One thing to consider here is make sure that you're always starting low. I've got that at the last suggestion. It should be the absolute first one. If you think that you can take 200 people an hour, start at 100, maybe even less than that in your numbers, okay? And then optimize, work your way up. That's a good place to start early in the season, and then work your way up if you think you can fit more and more people over time there. That's an important thing. Start low. You can always add in more inventory as time goes on. Even if the tickets were already sold out for Saturday at 8 o'clock, you can add in an extra 50 tickets if you brought in more staff and you think you can speed things up tonight because you've been optimizing stuff. Or you can just add those tickets at the door from the people who show up in person but haven't pre-purchased. Though I do strongly consider this year having a policy that you must pre-purchase so that you can get people to take advantage of these things. I know that's not popular, but here's the deal. You can even make them pre-purchase at the event. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can have them purchase on their mobile phone, when they arrive at the event, if they've already gotten there, stuff like that. So consider having some sort of policy like that, or at least limiting the number of in-person sales you do to try to keep those crowds from bulking up, keep people buying on their phone instead of at your cash register and exchanging cash or cards or whatever else with you that people might not feel safe about. Now, some other things to consider. What if somebody slows down? You always have the people that panic or, got sick or wet their pants or, God forbid, had something worse happen, had health issues, tripped, fell, had heart problems, whatever it be. What if somebody like that slows down the line? You certainly have to know with time ticketing what your buffer range is. So, and you have to make sure you have extra, kind of a plan B during that buffer range so that you can get back on track. Otherwise, time ticketing compounds. So if you thought you could get 200 people an hour through and you knew that number exactly and you had the pre-sales set to 99% of that, you weren't doing the 50% rule, and starting down there, then if somebody gets slowed down, you're going to see the next time slot gets farther behind and the next time slot gets farther behind. This is a problem. So what I recommend with this is plot it out. Practice the problems. Have somebody walk through and pretend you're having a problem. Know where the quickest escapes are. You should already have this all mapped out in your haunt, but know where you can have outs of your attraction that you can get people out easily. Make sure you have somebody available to grab somebody and help them out, and make sure you leave a buffer for that. So if you think your longest possible scenario is a 15-minute delay, then don't sell the capacity for 60 minutes in a 60-minute interval. Sell the capacity for 45 minutes so that you have that delay potentially built in there. Those are just some tips from people that we've worked with through the years that do a lot of this time ticketing stuff and doing it ourselves. So hope you take some of those into consideration there. All right, with that, let's keep digging and talk about virtual live stream access for haunted attractions. So this is a fun one. We, this year, when the pandemic hit, we had already started work on a virtual service with our normal company. So that all you guys know, we don't just do haunted attractions. We also work with pro sports teams and semi-pro and youth and all that, and sports leagues. We work with concerts. We work with theaters. We work with a lot of stuff, festivals, all sorts of things. Escape rooms, which are kind of close, in relation once in a while. Haunters will also do escape rooms. So we work with a lot of different stuff, and a lot of them were seriously affected, when this pandemic hit, because they weren't looking forward to the fall and saying, will things be back open in the fall? They were saying, where is my revenue for the next 6 months or 8 months or 9 months? Because this is all I do. I just put on events. So we built out a virtual ticketing platform, and that's what you're using right now. So this is our virtual platform. We launched it first on Passage, but also here on HauntPay as well, so that you can actually sell tickets. Now, we gave you the tickets for free, but we still made you register and then protect it so that only people who purchase tickets can get into that event. And here's the cool thing. It can work just a little bit of everywhere. So here's what I want to talk about. What is it? Why should you care? Where it could potentially be applicable for haunted attractions, and any considerations on the setup and that sort of thing. All right, so number one, what is it? You can sell tickets that have a virtual live stream access potential there. Only ticket purchasers can get in and view the live stream video of the event. And we can have chat and that sort of thing so that we can, keep the stories going and do a QA. We can have donation buttons. By the way, thank you guys so much for donating continually to Don't Be a Monster. I see we're up to $63 so far. If you haven't seen that, click, I think it's over by kind of where I am here. Is it that way? Yeah, I think it's that way. I don't know. It's a little bit of a delay, so I can't actually see myself on it. But, click the button over there and click donate. We'd love to have you. But that's an example of what you can do with virtual events. You can have that live chat. You can have the donations. You can have the opportunity for other upsells. We can put upsells for merchandise on here, that sort of thing. And big point here, it doesn't have to be either or. So this is a really unique point in history. We all know that, but a lot of people are getting very comfortable with these virtual events. We have over 100 people logged on to a social distancing webinar. I can't tell you how crazy that is in my mind. And thank you for being very chatty and all that sort of stuff here. I love the stories, and I'm going to dive in a little bit in a second after I'm done, talking here. But it doesn't have to be either or, right? Like, it doesn't just have to be online or at the door. And we're training everybody right now to get comfortable with virtual events. And they'll continue to be comfortable with that. So in the future, I think you're going to see a lot of, concerts, for instance. They might be able to reach here, and that's actually my graphic over here. They might be able to reach maybe, 500 people in their local area. Can you see that right up there? That's the local area, the red one there. They might be able to reach 500 people in their local area, or just fit 500 people in a theater. But across the U.S., they might have 100,000 fans, and that's the purple area here. And haunting is the same way. We all know that there are haunters across the U.S., tens of thousands of these folks all over the place. We meet up at Transworld, we meet up at MHC, we meet up at HauntCon every year, and the others, the Texas Haunters Convention. I love that one. And we congregate online, and that's the big thing, right? We're already online doing these seminars, doing these webinars. So there might be tens of thousands of people that you can reach that might be interested in seeing your haunt, but they can't get there. Maybe because they're busy that time of year, because they're working at a haunt, or just because they're across the U.S. And this is your opportunity to open things up to them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be during your actual haunt. It can be during the day, it can be during the week, it can be during the off season. And here's a tip. Just like those concerts, you can actually sell in-person access and physical and virtual access at the same time. So you might have 500 tickets available on site and infinite available across the U.S. at a lower price. And that's one thing I recommend with virtual events. If people don't get the in-person experience, they are comfortable in their own homes, but if they don't get that in-person experience, maybe consider charging them less. That's a big consideration there. So you can reach more customers. It's going to be from the comfort of their own home or wherever they want to watch, on their mobile device, on their desktop, on their TV. And there's no health or social distancing concerns here. So that's the first side of things here. How about some ideas? What can we as haunters do with this sort of thing? Feel free to throw some in the chat, and I'll try to keep looking over here, though I just literally have another computer open, and so if you see me looking behind me, that's why I keep dodging over here. But here's one, behind the scenes tours. This is going to be one that a lot of the haunters and haunt fanatics are going to love. They want to see how you do what you do. They might want to see how you're building what you build. And there's a great way to handle this sort of thing. You might not think you can charge for that, but I think you'd be surprised, especially if you're doing something really unique. And I'm going to tell you in a second how you might be able to do more than you think on actually sold tickets. Scare cams. You can do stuff like that during the year. That's a great one. Makeup tutorials, classes, or lessons on haunting and scaring. The same sort of thing that we pay money for to go to Transworld and go to all this education, or really HauntCon. That's a great one for all the education, that we go to HauntCon and we pick out all this education. People pay for that sort of thing, and now we can do those online, and we don't all have to travel, and so some people are even willing to spend more. You can even do videos so people can get back to this stuff. By the way, all of this will be available afterwards. I'm going to send you a link so you can see this entire presentation afterwards and fast forward through all my rambling and just get to the spots that you like there. Fundraisers. This is the secret sauce here. So if you don't think you have something that is interesting enough to sell tickets to, but you do think it's interesting enough to register to, try teaming up with a local, cause, or yourself as a cause. If you guys need something to get to the next level, you could use it as a fundraiser. Give fans a reason to donate to you, and a bundled package there. Look at this. We have raised, looks like $63 right now. We also raised another $34 before this. So now we're at $100 that we have raised for Don't Be a Monster in total. So you could do stuff like this. We actually did one event just a couple weekends ago. There was a music festival. It was more traditional, but it was in New Orleans. It was like the official, pandemic event. And that was not under HauntPay. It was under Passage, or generic, non-haunted name. But it killed it. We had 50,000 viewers. And in total, they brought in over $50,000 in donations. It was pretty crazy. So keep that in mind, that sort of thing. When you can team up with a good cause, people are willing to open their pocketbooks a little bit more, especially if they've got an extra stimulus check to spend and they haven't spent it elsewhere. You never know. There might be opportunities out there. So these are just a few, ideas on that side of things. Now, I have already shown you a big part of what's going on here, and I think that's key. But I do want to show you a little bit behind the scenes and how that actually works. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into our virtual event setup and try to see if I can show you how easy it is. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't really need great equipment. I am doing all of this on a simple webcam, and I actually want to show you something real quick. I know that you can see that I've got this blue screen effect, like stuff's going on behind me. Here, I'll pick up full screen here so I can change between this stuff. This is just an image I have behind me. I used a free app to make the bats fly around. It's called Pixaloop. Check that one out, Pixaloop. I bet Kat, I think Kat's still watching, I bet she'd be happy to throw that in the chat because we both use it. It's a free app. They do have a paid version too, so you can decide whether or not you want to pay the couple bucks and upgrade it. But you can do cool animated stuff like this, and it's super easy. So I just created an animation, I threw it behind me, and then I'm using an application called OBS. And let me turn off. I want to show you something that's pretty cool here. I'm going to turn off my chroma filter, the see-through side, and you can see what's behind me. And I know this is tough to see. I just put a flat color. That's all you need. Any flat color you can do that effect with. And this flat color is two yoga mats that are hanging up here. I tried to make them kind of blue because there's always settings to do this. Blue is an easy color to avoid, right? So you can do that blue screen type setup. But I didn't even buy anything here. There are two yoga mats back there that Kat and I use. I don't do much yoga anymore. One was being actively used by her, but so you can do stupid stuff like that to get a flat background behind you. I'm going to turn it back on so that the magic is back here. All right, so now we've got it blocked out. And you probably wonder, how am I doing this? How am I turning all of this on and off and all that sort of thing? So let me show you my desktop. This is going to be infinite here, right? So now you can see behind the scenes. This is a software called Open Broadcasting Software, and it just lets me put things up on the screen here, and I can even show you a little bit of it. I'm going to go into studio mode. So on the right is what's being broadcast, and on the left is what I'm queuing up. So I can do things like queue up that splash screen or queue up a scene with my image behind it and that sort of thing. And I can just queue all these up. It's super easy. I can just drag stuff around. So if I wanted to move my picture around, I can do that really easily. It's that simple. And I'm also using this to share my desktop. That's how you're getting the presentation. It's just a Google Slides presentation. Nothing difficult going on here at all. And in fact, nothing that I've paid for. So this is a free service, this OBS software. Check it out, Open Broadcasting Software Studio. I think it's obsproject.org or something like that. Just do a quick web search and you can find that. It's a great tool if you've got a Windows desktop. There are other free ones out there, but it's a great one. And there are like thousands of YouTube videos to tell you how to do things. Oh, I've always found it to be pretty easy anyways. So with that, I'm going to actually get that off the screen for just a second here and go back in, because I want to show you a couple more parts. I actually want to show you how this works in our system here. So let me dive in to my account on HauntPay. Oh, it's going to ask me to sign in, of course. Nobody copy that password. Should be all hidden. All right, so this is my HauntPay dashboard. I really just want to look at the managed events here. We saw a lot of sales that I had for the social distance webinar, but here's the key thing that I want to show you, our virtual access setup. So after you create an event, I can just go in here and you can enable passage streaming. And this is pretty cool. You're going to get login info, and this is just the info that you plug into OBS, into that software. It's super simple to throw over there. So just keep that in mind. This is all stuff that's freely available. It does have a service fee if you use our virtual setup, but it can be passed on to the ticket purchaser. Or if you have another streaming service you like Vimeo or something like that, you can embed that and we won't charge you a thing. It's just the HauntPay system. So again, it can be added as a service fee that's passed on to your ticket purchaser, or just use your own. And it's super easy. Just paste this info into that OBS software I just showed you. You throw a background up behind you or something like that, or honestly, just use your phone. Do a walkthrough, do the behind the scenes right from your phone. There are two sides to it. You want to make it professional, right? And I'm doing things like having my picture down in the corner and having some cool backdrops that I made, again, with free software, some graphic stuff. And that might be intimidating. You want to make it look a little professional, but this video quality is actually horrible. I don't know if you've noticed. It makes it look all the better when I'm doing cool things around it to spice all that up and make it seem professional here, because this is just a webcam. This is just a stupid, $40 webcam I got off of Amazon or something like that. And your built-in webcam on most things would work as well. So on the other parts of the virtual setup, we have the ability to enable live chat, which you guys have seen, allow donations. You can set a minimum amount. You can set a goal. That's how we have a goal for the donations there for Don't Be a Monster. We can set up additional upsells through our widget codes. So that's just showing you a little bit of that. And again, anybody here that wants to do an in-depth walkthrough of setting up time ticketing or setting up virtual access on HauntPay, setting up virtual queues, we'll be happy to walk through all of that with you at another time. This is just a crash course on kind of what some of this stuff can do. All right, so with that, you've got the idea. It doesn't have to be expensive to do virtual events and actually do it right and collect donations and that sort of thing. And it doesn't have to be something that you're not already doing. You can already walk people behind your scenes. You can already show them, how you're doing makeup and things like that. And a great way to get everybody involved is to do those fundraisers. All right, last part, virtual queues to eliminate lines. And then, of course, we'll get to some QA if you guys have any, and we'll go from there. All right, advantages and disadvantages of virtual queues. First off, do you know what a virtual queue is? Some people might not. I'm going to get into some of exactly how it works, but think of it like this. Go to a restaurant that you haven't gone to and it's a busy night, and you're gonna check in at the host table, right? And they're gonna say, we'll text you, when your table's ready or something like that. That is a form of a virtual queue. It's not a great one because you still have to go to the host table and you have to do some things that are there, but that is a virtual queue when you're getting texted when it's your turn to go directly in with no waiting, and you can go do other things in the meantime. You're still waiting, but you don't have to wait in line and you don't have to wait surrounded by people. So some of the advantages here are that you can keep your customers feeling feeling safe by not having to wait in line. That's going to be key this year. Customers can even stay in their cars if they want, and just wait out there after they've checked in at the event, or just try to arrive right as they're called in, depending on how you have your virtual queue set up. Customers have more time to spend. So this is another positive. Customers have more time to spend time and money at your attractions. Maybe you've got concessions. Maybe you've got a midway. Maybe you've got photo ops or merchandise. And yeah, maybe those are things that won't be as effective this year with the social distancing, but in the future, they'll be super effective, and they're a great reason to use virtual queues. Are people going to spend more money while they're waiting in line or while they're roaming about at your midway? While they're roaming about, while they have opportunities to spend but are still waiting so that they can go to the attraction, they're going to try to kill some time. They're going to get some coffees, whatever it takes there. So that is a great way to increase your revenue at your event. Have those midways set up, have those virtual queues installed. And on the negative side, it is more to deal with and possibly an added cost depending on who you work with. It's included when you're working with HauntPay. You don't have to worry about that with us. But if you have another system that you're trying to add on, that can be an added cost for you. So keep that in mind as well. And technology, man, like 80 point you're adding on technology, there's a potential for failure. There's a potential that the internet goes down, or the cell signal goes down, or something like that. But hopefully that's not the case with this. So just keep that in mind. That's always the more you add on, that's always a potential problem. All right, so how do virtual queues work? And I'm excited to show you. Ours, is in testing. It's still being built out. We're going to have it totally live in July for people to actually use by July, probably by July there. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what's going on right now and some of the options that are there right now or will be available by July. So number one in the process, customers check in at the event. This can be done at a box office or on their ticket. So you saw that ticket that I pulled up. That's actually mobile friendly. Somebody can just open their ticket and check in when they're within a certain geographic range. So that's key. People don't actually have to get out of their car and go to the box office. You can set it to allow people to check in when they're within, say, half a mile or 0.1 mile or something like that. And that's one of the key features that we have that I haven't really seen too many other places. Now, you can disable it if you don't want to have the geofencing there for the check-in. You absolutely can get rid of it, but it is a key feature. So either people can come up to the office and scan in their ticket, or they can check in on their mobile device. At that point, the attraction staff is notified. They will pop up in the waiting queue as available to be part of the attraction here. Then the attraction, when they're ready for it, either manually or automatically moves the customer to the ready queue. Now, you can set our system to automatically do that so that it always has 5 groups going through or 10 groups or whatever you want to set that to. And every time you check somebody off, it automatically readies up the next one and notifies them that it's their turn to come to the attraction. Or you can have it set to manually do that so that you actually drag people from one spot to the next to ready them up. And then as the guest arrives, after they get that notification, they'll head over there. You can see an example of the notifications, on the right over here. So you can see, the first one, they might be notified that you've checked in. We'll let you know. Feel free to roam the midway or stay in your vehicle. And then they'll say, when it's ready, they'll get a notification automatically that says, hey, Pitch Black or Your Haunt is now ready for your group. Please proceed to the entrance within 10 minutes and check in with the host. Obviously, you can change this. It doesn't have to be these text messages. You can adjust it however you want. This is just an example of ones that I had set up here. And then, after the guest arrives, they get checked off, and that removes them from the queue and readies up the next person if you've got it set to automatic. So you've seen it. The process there. So let's see if we can dig in and see how it all works here. So I'm going to go over to our system and let me get, whoops, that's not the one I wanted. I want to get a couple of these real quick here. There's the one. All right, so I'm going to pop open our virtual queue. I think I still have it open. Yeah, here it is. So this is our virtual queue. So this is mobile friendly. You can use it on a tablet. You can use it on a mobile device, an Android tablet. It just changes when it's pushed down a little bit. One thing you don't see here is the group size. This is just the person that purchased tickets in the group, but it will actually show the size of the tickets and then let you click them to get more details. And the idea here is that when somebody clicks their ticket, clicks the checkbox, it's going to pop them over to the ready queue. So actually, I think I can show you this. I'm going to pull that over here. And there it is. There's my text message that just came through. So I can see, hey, Pitch Black is ready for your group. I've gotten it a couple times as I've been playing around with it today before our setup here. But ready for your group. Please report directly to the attraction. No waiting. No need to stand in line. You can just walk right in. So that's the sort of text message that you'll get as soon as the attraction moves you from waiting to ready. And there's also an email that goes out. If you want to pull somebody back because they haven't showed up in time, you can hit the X and pull them back over to the waiting side, and you can re-notify them by hitting the bell, or you can dismiss them as being done. You can say, hey, that's all done, and if it's set to automatic, the next one would pop in here. Now, some other things here. Let's say you want to change the priority of who's up next if it's automatic. You can actually drag and drop here. So I can just drag this up to the top and say Jennifer Crosby is going to be next. You, as the attraction, always have that ability to override. Oh. And all right, sorry about that. I thought I saw a glitch here, but it looks like it's working okay. So you as the attraction always have the ability to override the order. You can also order folks based on priorities. And we have a few different priorities you can set. So you can have it automatically order them by the time slot they purchase to. So you can actually let people ready up, let people check in before their time slot is there. So that's a feature you can turn on or off to let them check in outside of their time slot. But it will put them at a lower priority and note them as lower in the fold there. So that's really important. That's a feature that's coming. We haven't quite built that in yet, but it's coming very quickly here. You can also have it prioritized by the size of group. So that's another priority, and by ticket type. So you might have a VIP that you always want to go to the top of the queue and be the next one available. So I think, that's one to keep in mind that you might want to prioritize, based on that ticket type. And that's something that's pretty unique to us, that ability to prioritize by ticket type and by the time slot that they purchased for if you're letting more than one come in there. And you can assign different ticket types to different queues. So it doesn't have to be that everybody gets in through a virtual queue. You could just have a paid, virtual queue for folks that, you want to go to the next level with, or that you want to upsell VIPs, right? So you can do that. You can also have, a setup where maybe the virtual queue is only for people that don't pay for VIPs, right? And the VIP just automatically walks in whenever they show up. So you'd want to sell not very many of those, but that's another option. So keep that in mind. The virtual queue can work in a lot of different ways here. And as people are redeemed, like let me actually redeem a ticket. I'll scan in a ticket. There they go. They pop into the queue. I'm scanning off screen just because it's a little bit harder to do in person here. But as I, scan those in, we can do that, and they'll pop right into the queue here. So, and then we can ready up the next one. They'll get a text message. So that's how it works. That's the concept of a virtual queue, and certainly happy to take some questions about that and dive back in. I'll dive into the chat in just a second. I do want to go through, a couple last things here on the presentation before we get to the QA. All right. So, you've seen how virtual queues work. You've seen what we're doing with all that stuff. You've seen the pluses and minuses here. And did I have anything else on that? Yeah, nope, that's the process. And we would love to help you with all of this, be it time ticketing, be it virtual events, be it virtual queues. We work with over 1,000 different haunted attractions with tons of features made for haunts. This time ticketing stuff isn't new for us. We've made some upgrades this year, but it's been there for years because we were built for haunted attractions. We also have been around the haunting industry longer than any other haunted house ticketing company out there, and we reach over 2.5 million haunt seekers every year. And when they're looking in your area, we push them to you. I can't stress how important this is. I just had a guy that, we looked up the numbers here, and he made an extra $22,000 from sales that came searching through our system last year. So that made it well worth, working with us in any way possible, especially since we don't charge you a thing. We have a small service fee that's passed on to the ticket purchaser by default, so the haunt doesn't have to pay anything. It's a free 60-second sign up, and keep this code handy, scare me, and we'll give you a free Bluetooth card reader so you can even do in-person sales as well as online sales after you sign up. And one last thing I want to throw out, there's a brand new program we have this year, and that's called Haunt Pay Capital. Haunt Pay Capital is a way for you to get cash for your haunt. We know that times are tough right now with the pandemic and everything that's going on. It's horrible. Lots of people are losing tons of money. And this is a way, for us to work with all sorts of events, not just haunted houses. We do it with Passage too, to help out concerts right now. But we think it applies for haunted attractions. You guys are being hit hard too if you can't do some events, if you had events the rest of the year, or maybe your day job isn't doing well, or maybe you're not being hit hard and you just need some cash to help take your haunted attraction to the next level. That's what Haunt Pay Capital is all about. We have the ability to give you an upfront cash payment, usually ranging in the range of $500 to like $50,000. We have a pretty big range depending on your size and what you want to do. There's no payback or credit checks or anything like that. It is not a loan. The only thing here is that we want you to trust us with your business in the long haul. So what we might do is make you an offer of a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract or something like that. And you're stuck with us for that amount of time. But a lot of you guys have used us for the last 5 years anyways, and we had 96% of our clients stick around last year, so most people don't want to leave. So that's Haunt Pay Capital. We'd love for you to apply if you like. We can't get everybody money. It's a limited supply, but we are trying to refuel the piggy banks as they were and try to keep this program going. You can apply online in 10 minutes at hauntpay.com/capital. And if we can't get you money now, we may be able to in a few weeks or a month or so, something like that. So just keep that in mind as well. We'd love to at least chat with you and see that application. I know a few of you guys already have applied. Thanks so much. We'll be getting back with you very, very soon. We're sorting through a ton of those applications right now. So that's it. Here's contact info and all that. And with that, I'm going to turn over, start leaving your chat questions here. I'm going to dig in to the QA and see if I can find some questions in our setup here and see if there's anything that we can go through and answer. I'll try to tag a few more of these. All right. Virtual queue. Wow, there's a lot of virtual queues. Okay. I don't know if I'm catching them all, but I'm seeing a couple recent ones. And I'm trying to tag these. I've got a little bookmark thing here. So I'm going to tag a few of these that have question marks. Give me just a second, and I'll start answering some of these. All right, I don't know if I got all of these, but we're going to start answering some of these questions at least. And Kat, I know you're out there. If it looks like you were saving some of these, you can either log in as me. I think you have my login info. You're probably not supposed to, but you have my login info if you want to actually flag those in the chat, or you can just Slack some of those to me, privately on our Slack chat if you want to send some of those over. And I'll be happy to answer anything that you've got saved there as well. All right, so with that, I have a few that I'm going to get started with, and maybe these are, overriding here with some that you've been saving, Kat. Deanna says, hey, Deanna, we appreciate you. Thanks for always being a great client and working with us. Will this be available for on-demand viewing on HauntPay? Yes, we will be emailing everybody here the link to view this. I did say that once earlier. It was probably, after you asked that question. So, yeah, all good there. All right. Let me dismiss that one. There we go. All right. Let's see. Brett Molitor. Hey, Brett. Can the app be interactive with the customer in a location-specific way? I assume you're talking about stuff, and feel free to clarify this in the chat. I assume you're talking about something like offering upsells. Do we have an app that can offer upsells when they go to a specific area or specific thing, at your establishment? We do not have anything like that. We just have the virtual check-in, and that is the only thing that we have geofence, and that's actually not through an app. It's through a mobile website, and that's to make sure you don't have to download anything. Now, if you're talking about your app that you can actually use to sell tickets at the event, then that is a little bit of a different story. So that one, we still don't have it changed, but you can actually wander around with the app and use our Bluetooth card reader and upsell people while they're waiting in line. Maybe they want to go straight to the front of the line. You can sell them a front of the line pass. When you see that girl that's huddled up real close to that guy, it's, kind of mean, but you say, hey man, she looks really cold, right? Like maybe she wants to go to the front of the line, $20 a piece, and we can take you both right to the front of the line. It's slimy, but it works, man. It works all the time. And same thing goes for anything you want to sell. If you want to walk around with concessions, if you want to walk around with anything, you can sell that as you go. And you can also use our system as a POS in concession booths. So I don't know if I missed or aced that question. Feel free to hit some clarification in the chat if I did not get it. Can you upload pre-recorded video as a part of virtual access? Yes. That's a great question, and I actually recommend it. This is not pre-recorded. Hopefully, you guys don't think I'm trying to scam you here, because we did have some troubles, but that is one thing that it avoids. You can do a nicely pre-done video, not worry about the technical stuff, just upload it and have it play through. We're happy to help with that. Our system, we don't actually have an upload button yet. We probably will pretty soon. But in the meantime, you can actually send it to us and we'll upload it for you. And that's one of the things with HauntPay. Like, we'll do tons of stuff that goes above and beyond, the norm. Like, just let us know. Anybody you ask in the chat here will tell you that works with us or that sort of thing, that our customer support is second to none. Or at least I hope they'll tell you that, because that's what they said in the survey that came through. So those are some good ones here. Yeah, I love pre-recorded videos. And then you can run it as if it's live. I mean, it's really cool. You can fake people out, but it's just like less technical problems that could potentially happen. How would the virtual queue, hey, Deanna again, how would the virtual queue work with multiple ticket purchases for a group? Great question. So we have a limit so that you can set on the group size. And that is a feature that really wasn't described in what I showed you. Again, this is an early version of it that we're just testing a lot of the interaction and stuff, and it's working great. But that is a feature that we're already working on, that group limit. So you could set it to, say, a group can be no more than 4 people. And even if they purchased 8 tickets, it would only allow them to go in groups of 4. It would actually split them up into 2 groups of 4. Now, by default, those are going to be right next to each other in that queue. So they're going to be next to each other in line. So, potentially you could still let them in pretty close together or one in front of the other. But if you want, you can still move that around so that they're not next to each other. So hopefully that answers your question. The other direction I think is also interesting. What if 2 people bought separately, but they want to go together? So we do have an override way that you can actually manually drag them next to each other in the queue so that they're right next to each other again and let them in at the same time. And we're building out a way to link accounts or link purchases so that you can become a group with somebody else. That's coming soon. But right now, again, you can just move them manually. If they go to the box office and say, I want to go in with this person, you can just move them up next to that person or down or wherever that would be. Christina Martin, can the text message be customized? Yeah, you can have any text messages you want for both the notice message that goes out initially there and the end one. So you can tell them exactly where to go with that text message, which I'd recommend. Hey, there's a big flag over the entrance. Head there. You're the flag, folks. Once it says ready, go to the flag. Something like that. Make it as specific as possible to keep your folks engaged. And you can add in more, messages as well. If you want to send them a text message afterwards, after it's all said and done, we can do that too. Shannon says, can virtual queues work if we still have general ticket sales that don't go through HauntPay? That one's tough. We've definitely built this finely integrated with HauntPay right now. So I would urge you, reach out to me. My info is literally on the screen here, alex@hauntpay.com. And let me know, what you're thinking. But right now, it's all tied directly into HauntPay. We don't have a separate, model for making money off the virtual queues. We have to make money off the products we put out there, and we have hard costs. Cost money to send those text messages. So right now it's only with HauntPay. That's the only thing I'm guaranteeing, you guys next month and by the fall. But if we have the right people come along that have their own thing and they want to figure out a way for us to piece that off, we might be able to do that. So shoot me a message. I'd love to have that conversation. alex@hauntpay.com. Okay, so those are the ones that I had tagged, and I'm going to zoom over to the ones that Kat is sending me. Thank you so much, Kat. Can you talk more about paperless check-ins? Yeah. Let me see if I'm missing it. Someone asked about that earlier. Yeah, totally. So if you're talking about, live events that you're, checking in at the event, the HauntPay system and Passage for non-haunted events. Let me try to get out of this here, and I will show you. We have a ticket. So you can actually just pull this ticket up right on your phone. I'll show you kind of what that would look like. It is mobile responsive, so it'll shrink down, and people can pull that right up on their phone and check in. So that is definitely one thing that we have for paperless check-ins. And that works super easily for people to just pull that up on their phone. Our check-in app, scans right off the phone super well. It's actually one of the best ways to scan things in because the lighting's going to be good when it's backlit there. And then the other thing that I will tell you real fast here, whoops, did I go to the right place? I'm trying to pull up my phone again so you can see that on the screen one more time here. I will show you our guest list mode. So in the app here, just like we went to earlier, we can go to the guest list and we can actually see somebody in the guest list. Now this only has one person because I have it zeroed into the time slot, but if I, put this on any time, we'll get a few more guests. Well, not that many, but you can see a few guests down there, and we can just tap that guest's name. This one's tickets are already passed for that one. We'll tap this guest's name and you can see their passes, and you can just mark them as redeemed here. This is from the event organizer point of view. So you can just mark people off by their name. I would recommend looking to make sure they have an ID or something like that that's valid. You definitely don't want to be, marking people off when they're saying some other name that's not them. But that could be a security concern. But yeah, we can actually just pull up the list of people and you can mark them off very quickly. And if you notice, the way this works, we can actually type in 2 letters and it'll auto sort. It's quick search there. So that searched in less than a second. And then you can type in if somebody's giving you your name, so you don't have to scroll through an endless list there as well. So that's another paperless option. But I would say definitely scanning, having people hold up their either paper ticket or digital ticket on their phone, and then just scanning that remotely is going to be the easiest way to do all that. And we did, go through that earlier as well, but just to kind of show you what that scan function looks like one more time here. I'll go back to scanning. You just go over that pass, and this one will be used now. Whoops, I'm in the wrong event, aren't I? This is the wrong one. Hold on. I'm going to pull up. Oh, maybe I was in the right event. Here, let's try it one more time. Oh, I just was out of focus there. It should be very fast. It's red because it was already used. But if I tap it, yeah, you get a response in, we've actually timed this out, 0.2 seconds. And that's consistent as long as you keep the focus there. And the reason is we pre-download that list of tickets to the device so that it's not going to the cloud for every scan. It actually updates to our servers afterwards. That gets a little techy, but all that's saying is like, even if your internet slows down or dies down, it's not affecting your ticket scanning speed if you have that mode turned on. It's kind of smart sync or offline mode, we call it. Virtual events. Can you upload pre-record video? Yeah, we already talked about that. Absolutely. Text message customized. Yes, we can definitely do that with the virtual queues. Can it work if you don't have tickets that go through us? Get a hold of me. Let's talk about that. How would the virtual queue work with multiple ticket purchases for a group? Yeah, we talked about that one, and actually being able to cap that total number there for a specific group. Can the app be interactive with the oh yeah, we talked about the geofencing there. So yeah, we can block people from checking into the event so that they can only do it in a certain area, but we can't really give them offers or anything at this point in time. But you certainly can move up and down your queue lines and sell with our app in person. Is there a way to have more than one virtual queues? Yes! Thank you for asking. I totally forgot to talk about that. That is super important. All it takes to build another virtual queue, it's super easy. You can have different queues for different ticket types, and you can have certain ticket types in multiple different queues if you want, and they leave one or the other. So yes, you can have queues for every attraction you have. You can have a VIP queue and a general admission queue separately. It's all there. Let me see if I can find it and just show you the general setup, which will be lacking on some of the options that are coming. But whoops, my mouse isn't working right here. How did I get logged out? All right, so I'm going to go into my event management in HauntPay here, and under my events, I'm going to say virtual queues, and it's this easy. If I want to create, ignore that. If I want to create a new queue, I just go to new queue, and we can have yet another queue, and I can call it another queue. And we can have a different text message that gets alerted here, and we can choose the different following ticketing types here that we want to be available in that queue. So if we wanted VIP on this queue but general admission on the other, you got it. That's all it takes. And you can have multiple queues going and click into each queue separately to see how many people are waiting and what's going on, or just send that link around to your crew so that they can get in there. So it's that simple. Location-based interaction. You mentioned they had they can check in when they're there, but can we still scan them when they get to the gate to check in? Yeah, so I wouldn't. Yes. So I think we're talking about two different things there, if that's Brett that's mentioning back there. All right, so the way the virtual queue works, you can either, you need to check the customer in when they get to your event. So you can do that one of two ways. And I mean, I don't care. You can scan them in both. It's just going to say that they're already checked in if you rescan them a second time there. So let me get my phone off the screen here real quick. It's bugging me over here. So one of two ways here. The one of two ways that things can go on. They can pull up the digital ticket on their phone. Just click the link that was in their email. It's pretty easy to get to. You can even have a reminder go out, an hour before or 15 minutes before, like you guys got for this, with a reminder of where that link is to their ticket. It was access in this case. So they can tap that. And as soon as they tap check in, and again, you can make it so it has to be within a certain area, 50 feet or a mile or whatever you want that in, or infinite. And that will check them in. And then also, when they go to the attraction, when they're called to the attraction, when you go ahead and we check Jennifer here and she gets readied up, she gets that text message. When she goes to the attraction, you can either check her in by name or scan her ticket there, and that will bump her off this list. Or you can, just hit the checkbox here. But you can scan them in as well to bump them off that list. So it does reset that scan so that you can scan them again. Now, if somebody checked in from their car within the geofencing, but then came to your front, box office to check in, if you scan them, it would say that they've already been scanned in. But that also would make sense in that case there. You can have two different tickets that you sell somebody to. Maybe you say, we want them to check in both places. You can absolutely do that so that they literally have two check-ins that they have to make along the path. So that is a possibility as well. There's lots of customizations here. And if you want to dig in, I'd be happy to jump on a call and walk through exactly, what that could look like there. John, I'm already experimenting with using a body cam for the upcoming season. Killer, man. They may work with the virtual events idea. Or Joe Hyatt, sorry. Would we need the guests to sign a waiver, or do we advise guests that there is a live stream or recorded scares? Yeah, that one is for you to figure out, potentially with your lawyers. But yeah, in general, I would say cover your butt, right? So one way that we do this is every time somebody purchases a ticket online, you can have a check to agree box that forces them to check to agree to a specific set of terms that pops up. I think that's a great way to do that. You could also have a waiver system that you have there, but just the online ticketing should be enough. You agree, and maybe some signage when they come in to say, hey, by entering, you agree that you could potentially be on camera. Because I would think that would be a consideration, especially if there's children, things like that. Yeah, so I would at least dig into that. From what I've seen other places, you usually should, say that those are there. All right, so with that, let me see if there's anything else coming up. I got through Kat's questions now. Yeah, Shauna's got it figured out. She answered your question first. And Shauna says, we have it posted that there are cameras recording. I'm in Texas, and each state has its own requirements, although posting or a waiver, I think, is always a good idea. Totally agree. That's exactly what I just said there, or probably put better than what I just said. We encourage guests to purchase time tickets on site if they show up without a ticket. Smart, yeah. Yeah, paperless tickets work like a dream. Yeah, Kelly Carter, thanks for using us. Our paperless tickets work well. Cool. If there are any other questions, I'll stick around for a little bit, but I'm over time, so I don't blame you guys if you've already logged off or if you need to go. Totally get it. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking part in this. And, it's our first one. We will have more webinars coming out. You'll get an email soon about the next one. That'll come with the wrap-up video here when we have that all ready to go. And, one other thing to not forget here is don't be a monster. Click donate. If you haven't already, click that donate button. It is, under me, I think, or kind of like off to the side. It's right over there. Click that donate button. Give them $1, give them $2 to help fight the cause of bullying. Also, for everybody that signed on today, we're going to be donating $1 there, and there were like 120 people or something. So that's awesome. That's more money going to Don't Be a Monster. Hey Joe, thank you. I saw your message there. We appreciate it. Roseanne says everybody signs a waiver. Cool. Doesn't sound like there are many more questions, but really appreciate all you guys, and we hope to work with some of you. Just give us a shout anytime. We're at hauntpay.com. You can find us pretty easily there. Feel free to email me, call our team there, and let me dive right back to that info as well. Here we go. Alex at hauntpay.com, or I know this is a little hard to see, 877-339-FEAR, option 2. Or email us, our sales team and full team at info@hauntpay.com. We'll get right back to you. We'd love to talk to you guys. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you, Kelly. I see all the chats. It's great. I'm going to go back and read through some of the stories you guys were all telling earlier. And appreciate y'all. Yeah. Here's to a safe and healthy rest of your summer. And hopefully a really fun fall that we get to do some awesome haunting, maybe in some different ways than we ever have before, but just as fun as always. Oh, one more question popped up here. Scott, if you utilize geofencing, I assume the customer has to give permission for their GPS service. Yeah, unfortunately. So when they pull up the ticket, it'll just, and they click check in, it'll say, need to know your location. Yeah, exactly. Josh, thank you, man. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Deanna. We always appreciate working with you guys. Shannon, thank you. Looking forward to more of the other sessions. Yeah. So the marketing and sales one and PR, that one is a blast. We do that at HauntCon. I've got some big updates for it this year because I think there's some really cool opportunities that are new to get the word out there. That will be, I think, the next one. We're still trying to figure out the exact timing. And then we're also going to dive a little bit more into what people are seeing around that have already opened up and some of that sort of thing. Unless there's too much of that going on. If you're getting it through other webinars, we'll skip it. But yeah, we'll make sure it's done right if there is more demand for that side too. Chris, thank you, man. We appreciate you being here. Thanks, David. Always appreciate you. By the way, guys, David Geisinger chiming in the chat. He will likely be the guy answering if you call our phone number, or one of the guys answering. He's a great member of our sales team over here. Sherry, thank you. Appreciate you coming. All right. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thanks a ton, everybody, and we'll see you in the fall.